One of the realities for the game coming up for the Seahawks when they go to Green Bay is whether or not Aaron Rodgers will play. And even if he does play, he can't return until Saturday. Here's Coach Matt LaFleur talking about the preparation in which the Packers will engage this week, coming off of their 13-7 loss to the Chiefs on Sunday.
It'll be a great learning experience for all of us in terms of how we communicate it, how we go out there and execute it. Certainly there could be a situation where we have some specific plays for either quarterback. But I would say by and large, when you're preparing both of them for the way you want to attack a certain defense. And it comes down, I think a lot of it comes down to situationally what you do in terms of like third down, red zone, just because Jordan hasn't had a lot of maybe the same experience with some of those plays as Aaron. So, but I think it'll be a healthy mix of, you always got to prepare for either guy to be available. So you got to have a healthy mix that they're both comfortable with.
Is there any thought to maybe restructuring your practice week to have some more stuff to do on Saturday with him?
Yeah, potentially. But it's more than just, it's about the entire team and making sure that our guys are fresh when we go out there and play. I don't think anybody's fresh at this point of the season, but as fresh as we can be and go out there and execute at a high level.
Remember, under Mike McCarthy, the Packers used to have kind of a real practice on Saturdays. They don't do that under Matt LaFleur. They may want to consider something like that to give Aaron Rodgers more of an opportunity. It looks like they're trying to take full advantage of what's fallen into their lap, the opportunity to make the Seahawks prepare for both Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how different they are, frankly. I didn't see in detail. I mean, from a style standpoint, obviously Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. One thing Drew Brees said last night, Shireen, that I think made a lot of sense. Jordan Love and other Aaron Rodgers backups develop bad habits watching Aaron Rodgers because he gets away with a lot of stuff that is fundamentally unsound. So what happens? Jordan Love ends up doing some things that are fundamentally unsound, but he lacks the arm strength and the precision to deliver the ball when he's not fundamentally in the right spot that most other quarterbacks have to be to deliver the football with velocity, with force, and with accuracy.
Yeah, no question about it, Mike. And Jordan Love did not look good, and they need Aaron Rodgers. And this, to me, even improves or should improve his MVP odds because the Packers cannot win without Aaron Rodgers. They've shown it since 2008. They're 6-12-1 without Aaron Rodgers. He is the key to the Green Bay Packers. And this game against the Chiefs, Mike, it told me more about the Packers than it did about the Chiefs, because I was disappointed the Chiefs didn't go out there and blow them out the way the Packers played. It told me more about the Packers, that the Packers are a pretty darn good team, and when you get Aaron Rodgers in there, they're a really good team. So I had a front office executive call me today and wanted to talk about Aaron Rodgers, but we got talking about Dak Prescott, and they're sort of the same in that his point is that it's really hard in this league. He said very few players in this league can just walk out there without practice and go play and be really good. And his point was on Dak Prescott, he didn't practice for 2.5 weeks, and it's almost like that bye week you get, and the teams think you can just walk out there and go and play, and you can't. They need to practice. So we're going to see if Aaron Rodgers is one of those rare guys who cannot practice, assuming he gets cleared on Saturday, not practice and come out there and play as well as we know Aaron Rodgers can play, which is at an MVP level.
Yeah, and I agree with you that Rodgers is just different. He's different. And there are so many layers and levels to his return that I'm intrigued by, and we'll have time to talk about it as it approaches. But one of the things he's going to have to do is submit. He's going to have to submit. He's going to have to accept the rules. They are not going to change the rules for him, and if anything, the Packers are going to be watching more carefully because they have to. The league is going to be watching the Packers more carefully. One of the things I explained last night is that even though the COVID protocol says that repeat violations could result in a suspension for a player, The league doesn't consider it to be a repeat violation unless the player has already been disciplined for prior violations or violation. In this case, I don't know how many violations Aaron Rodgers had because nobody said to him, you're fined. Nobody said to him, you got to wear your mask. You're in breach of the COVID protocol, and if you don't start complying, you're potentially going to be suspended. Moving forward, he's going to have to do it. Everyone's going to be paying attention. When he goes into the press room, everyone's going to know, unless he's gotten vaccinated. And maybe he'll say that he has been. Who's to say that he hasn't been? I mean, he lied about being vaccinated the last time. Wouldn't that be funny if he shows up and tries to claim he's vaccinated now? But he's going to have to, assuming he stays unvaccinated, he's going to have to wear a mask, and he's going to have to comply. And it's going to be fascinating to see whether a guy who is not all that inclined to give in to the woke mob will do so and submit to the powers that be who are trying to make him do something he doesn't want to do. There's a tension here that I don't think we appreciate yet because we're still a few days away from it. And I told Mike Golick today, it's way out on the radar screen. It's just a soft blip on the edge. But I can't rule out the possibility that Aaron Rodgers between now and Saturday says, the hell with all of this. I don't need this. I mean, one of the questions I'd love for somebody to ask him, how much of your supposed 50-50 status in deciding whether or not to retire up until the weekend before training camp was driven by your desire to not be vaccinated and to not comply with the COVID protocols that your union agreed to on your behalf?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. That's a great question, and I hope somebody does ask that question. The bottom line is he was looking out for number 12. That's it. That's all he was looking out for in this entire thing. And as the executive told me today, he said, I guarantee you Aaron Rodgers was not wearing a mask in that facility, probably at all, but there's no one in that facility that's going to tell Aaron Rodgers no. They know he's unvaccinated. They're not going to tell him no. Well, they have to now, and he's going to have to wear a mask now. And I will be curious when they come out with the punishment for Aaron Rodgers and for this team, which we should expect. And if they don't, I think there's going to be an uproar. But when they do, remember last year, Mike, they went back and watched all those videos within the team facility about guys wearing masks or not wearing masks. And if I recall, the Raiders might have been one of those teams that ended up losing a draft pick and $500,000 if they found that some players were not wearing masks within the team facility. I hope they go back and watch video and figure out if he was or wasn't wearing a mask within the team facility, which is required if you're unvaccinated.
Well, that's right. And the video must be maintained for 30 days. I wonder how quickly they expunged the old video, which may have shown Aaron Rodgers not wearing a mask, for 60, 90 days, however long he's been in the facility. But this is something that people are watching very carefully. This is something that other teams are upset about. I've been hearing that for days, and we've hinted at it. I know it was a big Sunday Splash thing yesterday that other teams are upset about. I think it was a given that other teams are upset about the inconsistency in the application of the rules, not just COVID protocols, but all rules. There are certain teams that the NFL will hammer, and there are certain teams for which the league may exercise a little discretion, especially if Jeff Pash is good friends with one of the high-level executives. And as I said multiple times last week, Jeff Pash and Mark Murphy, the CEO of the Packers, are close friends. So maybe that's one of the reasons why this didn't come to a head previously, because it was all in plain sight. Anybody who was paying attention from the league office would have known that Aaron Rodgers isn't vaccinated secretly, and not secretly was showing up for these press conferences without wearing a mask. So something to keep an eye on this week as we get closer to the date of his return. Will he submit to the rules that he believes that under the guidance of Martin Luther King Jr., he has a moral obligation to disobey, which is a bastardization of the term, and it's a complete failure to reflect the fact that these rules were agreed to by the union that represents him and all other players. And you either comply or you step aside and somebody else will take your place. And yes, Jordan Love isn't as good as Aaron Rodgers, but he's not above everyone else. There are no separate rules that apply to him, although in Green Bay there have been. Which, one more point on this before we move on. Someone raised this with me last night because I it's been popping around and it kind of crystallized. The idea that the league should not expect the teams to enforce this because of issues like what the Packers had with Aaron Rodgers and of other, you don't want to be chasing your players around. You don't want to be nagging at your players. You got to do this. You got to do that. We're going to fine you for these league rules. The league should have a liaison. They should have somebody in place with each team who is ensuring compliance with the COVID protocols. It's that simple. I don't know why the league thought it would be a good idea to expect the teams to do this, because most teams aren't going to want to give their players a hard time, especially their most valued players, Shireen.
It's a great idea, and that's absolutely what the league should do. And, Aaron Rodgers is emboldened. He's the golden child with the Packers. He's the defending MVP. Packers can't win without him. Nobody was going to tell him no. So if nobody on the team is going to tell him no, then there's got to be somebody outside the team to tell him no. And when Matt LaFleur says, I don't know about media rules, I don't care about media access rules and what he has to wear a mask or not wear a mask there, well, the PR people certainly aren't going to tell him. The GM certainly didn't tell him. So somebody has to be big enough to say, Aaron Rodgers, put on your mask. You need to wear a mask. You're not vaccinated. And there was nobody on that team to do that. So a liaison would be the perfect person to be able to, the bad guy. Nobody wanted to play the bad guy in Green Bay, and it was obvious.
Yeah, absolutely, because they don't want the ultimate bad guy in Aaron Rodgers to give them the middle finger and stroll out of town. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying that in their back and forth, in their ongoing feud with Aaron Rodgers, he takes on the role of the bad guy because he wants something that maybe they don't want to give him, which seems to be at times full autonomy to do whatever he wants and bring in whoever he wants. And on this issue, he's getting the pushback that he hasn't gotten in the past, and we'll see how it plays out.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.